All right, so I'm going to be walking you through how to work the Ooni Koda 2 pizza oven, turning it on and off, how to set the rotating stone, and check temperature. Then we're going to prep a pizza and launch it. I'll show you all those steps. So first, we're going to start by turning on the oven by turning on the gas here at the tank, turning the valve to the left. Then here on the right side of the oven, you'll push the dial in to the left. You'll hear it turn on. Make sure it's on, and you want to leave it at the high position, which is right at the 9 o'clock position on the dial. Make sure it's on here. Sometimes with the wind here, it does blow off, so you want to keep your eye on it because sometimes the wind will blow it out and you have to restart it. So that's one tip. And then there's a digital thermometer here on the front. You can turn it on by just pushing the bottom. And then we also have the rotating stone, which is activated right behind it. There's a button right here on the base. You just push that and it'll turn it on. Press and hold. It'll start rotating. Now the best way to turn it on and off is you can push the button here on the bottom of the thermometer and it'll start and stop rotating it. Additionally, you can just wave underneath and that also stops and starts the rotating stone. So that's how you control that. We're going to let it preheat now to be between 750 and 800 degrees. So this is the ambient air temperature, and what we want to use is the infrared thermometer, which is going to be a lot more accurate. And you want to aim this right at the center of the stone, and that gives us at 709. So we're going to let that get to 750 before we launch our pizza. So in the meantime, we're going to start prepping our pizza, and we're going to use our main peel here is the paddle. Additionally, if you're a pizza aficionado and used to launching your pizzas and don't want to use a rotating stone, you can also use the turning peel, which allow you to turn it every 20 seconds to turn the pizza, so it forms a nice crust all the way around. But I recommend, as beginners using this, it's a lot easier to do the rotating stone as it'll cook evenly around. All right, so let's start by prepping our pizza. Okay, to prep our pizza, we're going to start by taking the dough ball that should be in the refrigerator. You should have left it at room temperature for about 2 to 3 hours till it gets nice and puffy. You don't want it cold dough because it'll be hard to stretch. So first we're going to take some of our provided flour down. We're going to put also some so it doesn't stick. And we'll drop that on a flat surface. And we'll flour it some more. Okay. And now we're going to start pushing from the center out to the edges. We don't want to push on the outside because that's going to form our nice fluffy crust in our standard Neapolitan pizza. If you're making New York style pizza, you usually roll it out to the edge thinner. But we're making Neapolitan in this case, which has the thicker crust. Another way to stretch it is just by picking it up and let gravity stretch it out. Now you don't want to go too far. You want to make it around 10 inches, 10 or 10 and a half. I recommended keeping it under 11 inches. Let's stretch it out a little bit more. I'm not going to be tossing it because I haven't gotten there yet. So I think that's a pretty good size, nice and rounded. We'll just finish it off like that. And now we'll prep it with our ingredients. All these ingredients are provided in the pizza kits that we have available on site. So first we'll start by adding some of the pizza sauce. And these are all pre-portioned for you in the kits, so you don't have to worry about how much to put on the pizza, as we already have it pre-portioned, including prepping flour. So we'll just roll that out to the edge. That. I'm going to add a little bit of our pecorino and Parmesan blend. And then I'm going to add some of the mozzarella cheese. Place that to keep it nice and full. Now you don't want to overtop your pizza because it can tend to burn. Even if you use too much sauce, it can make it soggy. So less is more when you're making your pizza is the general rule of thumb. And then we'll add some pepperoni. Nice and even there. I think we got a good amount. And then I like to top it with a few basil leaves that we have them in season. Smells really good. And that, one more. And then I like to drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil. And then we'll be ready to go. Let's check the temperature and see if it's preheated. So again, I'll use the infrared. Aim at the beginning, and we're at 783, so that's a good temperature to launch our pizza. So I'm going to take our peel, and I'm going to lightly flour it. And I'm going to transfer the pizza onto the peel. Oh, let me add some flour on the bottom because I see that it is sticking a little bit. All right, so let's try that again. And frame. Then you can finish stretching it out and adjusting if anything is shifted. Add a little extra cheese there. Nice. I think we're ready to go. All right. And then you want to make sure that it slides. I see it's sticking a little bit. So we're going to add a little flour underneath in the areas that we see that it might be sticking, because you want to be able to do a quick move into the oven to launch it. Yeah, it's sliding. I see one's right there. And now we're going to launch it. We want to drop it right in the center of the stone. One thing I should have done is you should have stopped the rotation of the stone before launching it. So that was the one thing I should have done first. Oh, and you want to turn it down to low as soon as you launch it. Probably even before you launch it, it's a good idea to bring it down to low because this oven runs really hot. So to give it enough time to bake, we found that a low temperature is usually a good place to have it on. And there, it's cooking away. And now we want to let the crust rise and get nice spotting or leoparding around the base. Sometimes if I start seeing it's cooking on high, I'll even turn it off, the flame. And now let the radiant heat finish cooking it and giving it a nice base of the pizza. Usually it's done between 60 to 90 seconds, depending on, you can tell on the color and how much it's risen. All right, so now we're going to stop it from rotating. I'm going to pass my hand underneath. pizza, and there we have the pizza. Oh, I like to transfer it onto the cooling rack first. Which prevents soggy bottom. So I'll let it rest there for a minute to cool, and that prevents the bottom from losing its nice crunchiness. So while it's resting, I'm going to top it with a little bit more of our pecorino and Parmesan blend. There, like that. And then I like to finish it off with a little more olive oil and some of our hot honey. So if you like it spicy, you can also add a little bit of hot honey. Finish it off with some fresh basil. And there you go. There's our Neapolitan pizza. Once it's cooled, I'll transfer it back to make it easier to cut, slice. With some crunchy. Now you can further slice this up depending on how many slices you want, but there's our Neapolitan pizza. Ooh, nice and gooey with a nice crunchy crust, and smells great, delicious. So I hope you enjoy making your own pizzas here in the pizza oven.